every corporate is engaged in the social sustainable development, and we aim to bring such initiatives, ideas, and projects to the mainstream by highlighting them and spreading them to a larger ecosystem of development. To begin with the program, we have very first presentation of storytelling from the UPL Limited, and their project name is Pragati, and the story will be presented by Mr. Rishi Pathania. Mr. Patania is a purpose-driven impact leader with over 20 years of experience into CSR and sustainability. He is passionate about making an impact in sustainable livelihood and environmental sustainability. He is currently heading the CSR at UPL Group. I would like to welcome you, sir, and giving you the rise to talk about your impact journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manoj, and thanks everyone from the Socio Story team for this wonderful platform and an opportunity for us to speak about our project. And also glad to see some new faces in the member as well as other list. First of all, good evening to everyone. My name is Rishi Pathania and I'm heading the CSR for UPL Group. I'm very proud of UPL's 15 years of giving back to society. UPL, which was started more like a small scale industry 50 years ago, which is now a globally fourth largest security company. There's a huge journey in the organization, but one thing which has not changed is the giving back to the society and working for the community. So that's a common thread with us for quite a long period of time. At UPL, we sincerely believe in an all-inclusive and sustainable growth of the society. And actually, this philosophy has always been the guiding force for all of community interventions wherever we do. And it's determined with the trust that humankind is one community, where each member is responsible for well-being of others. And it's all about connecting the people in a human way, showing respect, demonstrating trust, and celebrating diversity. So that's broadly the thought process for us at UPL for driving our CSR initiatives. There are two core values which really is the guiding force for us. One is the always humans and open hearts. Hence, our intervention is not restricted only to our surrounding communities around our factory location, but it's well spread out at a wider national and international level. In fact, we have been very proud of saying this, that we have taken our CSR initiatives to all global sites, not mandatory at other global locations, but we are doing this because it's in our DNA. That's what we do. So our CSR initiatives can be classified into 4 focus areas. We call it institutions of excellence, institutions that we have created, sustainable livelihood. The third one is a nature conservation, and the fourth one is a local and national area need. So today I'll be talking about our sustainable livelihood initiative, which we call UPL Pragati. Pragati is the Hindi word which means development. So the whole idea is to ensure development of a society at a large. Now there's a bit of a background when I'm talking about this initiative. So we did a third-party need assessment study in 2014. The whole idea was to understand the needs of this community and to prioritize the needs, establishing their costs, and making a long-term program to address those needs. So we did a very in-depth kind of a need assessment. Although there are different kinds of need and there were different mechanisms to put different buckets into that. But we focus on 3 specific needs. The first one was the deficiency need, the second one was the growth need, and third one was a development need. I'm sure a lot of people in this forum from the development sector will understand different needs have a different span. And how do you really want to address that, and which is the one that you really want to achieve? It's very important to prioritize and decide on that. While doing this study, we also identified there are three most vulnerable sections of the society where we are planning to implement our project, namely the small farmer, dropped out youth, and the needy woman. So we identified, apart from these three buckets of need, these are the three segments of the society which really needs our intervention and our initiative. I'll say that based on a lot of discussion with the community, with the team and management, the UPL Pragati emerged to address these three needs based on the relative criticality as well as the complexity. So we started three initiatives under UPL Pragati. First one was Khedut Pragati, primarily to address the small and marginal farmer, as we have identified this as the most vulnerable section of the society. The second one was Neojini, which was for the dropped out youth from urban area. Later on, we realized there's also a large section of dropped out youth from rural area. So their needs are a little different. So we started Krishi Neojini for them. I'll be giving a brief of this initiatives also. And the third one was the needy woman. We started an initiative called Udyamita, which essentially means entrepreneurship to address their needs. Now, if I talk about the Khedut Pragati program, we thought our goal should be minimum 25,000 farmers. That's a target that we said we will try to achieve working forward. And the initiatives or the steps that we identified there and which we implemented at later stage was on and off farm training on latest technologies. And I'm talking about the section of society, section of farmer, which are poor and marginal and based out of very remote pockets of country, like Dangs, like Wandri, like Marathwada, like Vidarbha. So we are talking about the backward pockets and we are talking about the small and marginal farmers from that backward pocket. So we worked on farm and off farm trainings on the latest technologies. We really worked on demonstrating the cropping practices for vegetable, for cash crops. We focused a lot on training on integrated pest control management systems. We arranged a lot of exposure visits and training programs in our own UPL Center for Agriculture Excellence in Vapi, where we have trained more than 17,000 farmers till date. We also started promoting system of crop intensification in Dang and other backward pocket. And lastly, we have started focusing on farmers group and making the backward and forward market linkages. Backward market linkages was already there, but now the focus is more on forward market linkages just to ensure that they get a better return on whatever they're producing. We are working directly with 7,000 farmers as of now, and we do plan to reach to 10,000 by next year. So this is what we are doing for the first vulnerable section. That's the small and marginal farmer. The second section was the dropped out youth from urban area. So our Neojini is our initiative, which primarily works on the industrial skills. So the whole idea was to bridge this gap between industry needs and the workforce readiness. So we established different skill centers and we call them Neojini, which essentially means skill. And we established 4 centers till now. It's a 6-month long course, primarily focusing on fabrication, chemical and electrical skills. And the whole idea is to make them industry ready in a shorter span of time. Shorter, we are not going for a very shorter, which is 3 months, we are going for 6 months. And the focus is on learning by doing. I'll say roughly 80% of the time is towards practical and only 20% on theory. We have dedicated classes for soft skill development as well as behavioral training. The whole idea is to mainstream the dropped out youth. Until now, we have trained more than 1,700 youths. Very happy to share that more than 1,000 have got a direct incremental better employment because of this initiative. And as I said, we identified there's also dropped out youth section from rural areas. So we started Krishi Niyojani for them. And we started working on training them on farm mechanization in rural areas. So that's one segment which is improving day by day. We have one of the least productivity from agriculture production point of view. So we have identified farm mechanization as way forward for a lot of youths in future. So we are working to uplift the agri-based livelihood for this section of the society through farm mechanization. And as of March 2020, we have trained approximately 3,300 youths from 9 states. So that's a work that we are doing under the Niyojani for the dropped out youths. The last section is the women, and we started making self-help group. That was the first step for us under our Udyamita program. And slowly, once we have formed the group, we slowly started promoting the culture of entrepreneurship between this group members. We realized this initiative not only empowers them financially, but also leads to the social and cultural growth in a longer perspective. So as I said, we started with the formation and strengthening of the self-help group, but then we started driving them towards entrepreneurship. Our approach for this particular initiative has 5 components. We start with diagnostic study, then we work extensively on formation of self-help groups, federations, partnership with bank, linkages, entrepreneurship development program, finally the monitoring and follow-up. As of now, we are working with more than 1,500 women from 42 villages and have formed and strengthened approximately 120 self-help groups, formed 4 clusters, 3 federation, 1 self-help group, 1 saving credit cooperative society. We have not limited this at that level only. We have given extensive training on skill-based entrepreneurship and agripreneurship also. Approximately 1,300 people we have reached in the last 5 years. This has resulted in forming a lot of micro enterprise at the individual level as well as group level also. Some of the bigger one that we have established till now is Nagli processing, honey processing, kaju processing. We have a good cluster of stitching and tailoring. We are working on artificial jewelry. We are working on bamboo craft. We are working on milk production. We are working on vegetable marketing. Taking forward this
excuse me, sir. It is wonderful listening to you here, sir. I just apologize before you, as we have storytellers also in the panel, and we have to maintain the time for 10 minutes. So please, you can continue for under 2 minutes, and then we can move forward with the other storytellers, sir.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah. Please, sir. Please, sir. Continue, sir.
On the same lines, we are working with other our partner organization also, whether it's NGOs and CBOs from the Mumbai. We are working on Vidarbha also. Just to give a brief idea of what are the features for this, I think we have taken care of sustainability element for all our initiatives. And this we are doing by involving community in all stages of the program and making community groups like Federation or FPO, etc. Extensive partnership with organization. We have more than 20 partners in our initiatives. Also, perfectly in alignment with the parent organization objective of because we are a crop globally. So, from that perspective, we have standardized our where we are saying we engage, we evolve, we engage the community, and just to ensure that we have a solid, rigorous monitoring process level and it goes to the director level, and involving third party for our outcome as well as impact assessment once in a 3 years. So that's a broad framework of activity. And by the way, Shweta, I've completed in exact 9 minutes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. It was lovely hearing you out, and I hope that everybody have enjoyed the corporate storytelling style of Mr. Rishi Pathania. And the project name is, once again, I would love to tell you, is Pragati. And now we have Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna, The project name is DSR and Roots Foundation nominated by PI Industries. Mr. Ritvik Bhaguna is a founder of Roots Foundation, a seasoned development professional. He has contributed significantly to the growth of startups as well as established organizations across agribusiness, sports and fintech industries. He is also consultant to the World Bank Group for multiple agribusiness and dairy development programs. We welcome you, sir. Mr. I just hand over the days to all the storytellers to just know that we have limited time sorts, and like we give you 10 minutes to give the storytelling in a brief way. Thank you so much. Handing over to Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna. Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna. I hope he's here, and welcome you, sir. Kindly unmute Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
I required your permission to unmute myself.
Yeah, welcome you, sir. So we are all set to hear your story, and please kindly go ahead. We have 10 minutes with you.
Sure. Thank you. A very good evening to all the jury members, to my fellow participants, and to all the organizers here. First and foremost, I trust that you, your colleagues, and your family members are doing fine in these extremely challenging times. I would like to congratulate Manoj and his team at Social Story for curating this kind of an initiative where all stakeholders gather on a common platform and get to learn about some of the most impactful initiatives, I would say, which are being undertaken across the country. I would also like to thank PI Industries and PI Foundation, which under the dynamic leadership of Mr. Vijay Singh has shown continuous and immense faith in our abilities in the last half a decade or so. While we are in the midst of an unprecedented situation, and most of us are still trying to gauge the medium and the long-term impact of COVID-19 on our personal and professional lives. For Roots Foundation, the biggest learning has been to value what we already have, and going forward, strive to be more compassionate towards all our stakeholders, especially the communities we're trying to build and support through our initiatives. And yes, 10 minutes, so I'll try to keep things as concise as possible. I'll start with a quick 1-minute intro on Roots, give a context on why DSR in India, and then quickly give you highlights of activities we've been doing only under DSR. I will not be discussing other projects of Roots Foundation right now. So yes, we are a pan-India NGO, more than almost 10 years old, I would say now. We have in our team people from all walks of life, from agriculture, from dairy, from top management institutes, people from various other walks of life. Roots basically strives to design and operationalize innovative ecosystems, I would say. These are not standalone initiatives, but innovative ecosystems that facilitate the empowerment of the less privileged by providing them with opportunities to realize their potential. The essence of initiatives at Roots lies in identifying an environment which requires an intervention, the context in which the environment and the various stakeholders in the environment actually operate, and subsequently in designing a framework which amalgamates opportunity, empowerment, innovation. Most important is sustainability. So most of the programs we are doing are long-term programs, which and DSR is also one of them. As I talk, we are not only executing standalone projects in our focus sectors such as agriculture, rural development, and skilling, but we are also building 5 communities pan-India in Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Rajasthan, etc., where the entry point for us has been agriculture and agriculture skilling. But we are now focusing on holistic area development, also including women empowerment, sports, education, and basic healthcare facilities. We are present in more than 10 states. and professionally run by both by senior board members as well as people from the corporate sector, headquartered in Delhi NCR. Now we come to the context for the project we have been nominated for, which is DSR, Direct Seeded Rice. Now 5 years have gone by, and we have about 10 more years to meet various sustainable development goals, which have been set up by the United Nations. Interventions in the agricultural sector have a massive role to play in achieving these goals, I believe. And alongside these development goals, India has set its own targets and priorities for farmers and the agriculture sector. So well-planned and meticulously executed schemes and projects have the potential to address global and national objectives simultaneously. India is one of the largest producers of many agricultural commodities, and thus a large consumer of agricultural inputs also, water being the chief input. Agriculture accounts for 70% of global freshwater withdrawals. Considering that about 1 billion people in the world do not have access to fresh water, it makes water-intensive agricultural practices unsustainable in the medium and long run. Promoting efficiency in water use has been a policy priority for India, particularly under the current government. In the year 2015, the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana was launched with the motto Har Khet Ko Pani, water for every farm, and per drop more crop, implying efficient deployment of water as an input. However, some crops like rice are traditionally water intensive crops. They require a lot of flooded soil for better yield. And according to International Rice Research Institute, about 3,000 liters of water is used to produce 1 kg of rice in India. In addition to this, 2018 study on water productivity found that the productivity levels in India were far below the likes of China, Japan, etc. And within India also, the study found that states such as Punjab, which have the highest land productivity of rice, have relatively low irrigation water productivity, indicating high levels of inefficiency and high levels of wastage of water. Now, what is DSR? Technological development interventions such as DSR, they provide long-lasting solutions to the challenge of global water security. The use of direct seeding of rice is popular in China, various other countries, and it is an extremely old technique used in many countries. DSR refers to the process of establishing a rice crop from seeds sown in the field rather than by the transplantation process. Multiple studies highlight traditional methods of rice farming, including DSR, which lead to efficiency in usage of water. I will, if I'm given the rights, I'll quickly share my screen and show a couple of data points. If Manoj or Shweta can give you the access. So is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
So, everyone knows rice is the predominant crop in India. And when we started close to 5 years back, we saw how inefficiently rice was being produced, and the levels of inefficiency were also different in different states. And these were some of the challenges, whether it be low productivity, availability of water, labor, technology, and ultimately everything leading to a very unfavorable overall economics for the farmers. As I have already mentioned, compared to a China or a Japan, the productivity levels in India are extremely low. There is massive losses associated with the weeds, and the water table, lowering of the water table is one of the major concerns, especially in some parts of North India like Punjab and Haryana, where the water table is depleting. So our DSR initiatives are now spread across 10 states in India. where we are setting up demonstration farms. In fact, we have set up more than 500 demonstration farms already, where we, in very simple processes, train farmers in the use of DSR. We not only set up these demo farms, but we also manage these demo farms through the season, so that these are reference points for farmers. Anytime during the season they want to come and check what the processes are, and what needs to be done in case they are following these techniques. So we believe that water being one of the most important resources, DSR is going to gain prominence. In fact, we started in 2016-17, and we already see the rates of adoption growing at a much faster pace than they were. And it not only reduces the cost for the farmer, but as some of the independent studies by a Punjab Agricultural University and a couple of other institutions suggest, there is also increase in productivity when we use this kind of a method. This is our presence. We are in more than 10 states now, and directly and indirectly more than 10,000 farmers covered. In fact, majority of them are directly through our own demonstration farms. I will skip to what the impact has been with this. Number one is we started collecting data about 3 years back, and we see the rate of adoption from 6.5 to almost 7.5 lakh farmers is what we have already done in the last 3 years. We plan to increase our reach through various programs and through more and more states over the next 2 years, and reach at least 20-25 lakh farmers. There is a 40% reduction in water usage in paddy, which has been independently evaluated by PAU, Punjab Agriculture University. And another thing which has come out in the study is a massive reduction in methane emissions. The exact quantification will require some more technology, but a ballpark number is that about 40 to 50% reduction in methane emissions is also a result of using DSR technology. We have already spent funds to the tune of 4.5 crore rupees in the last 3 years in setting up and managing these demonstration farms, in hiring some of the best people for our field activities, trying to convince farmers to utilize the DSR technology. And if we were to look at some tangible outcomes which have been certified by credible agencies, the first is net returns from direct seeded rice were higher by almost 9,000 rupees per hectare, which is a huge amount when we talk about small and marginal farmers. Second is the overall farm income has increased to an extent. More important is DSR crops are faster and easier to plant. They have shorter duration. They use less labor and they consume less water. There is a massive reduction in labor cost. When we talk about reduction in input cost, one of the biggest elements is water and labor cost reduction. These are some of the interventions. We provide hard infrastructure like seed drills, etc., because this also requires technology, different kind of technology for farmers to understand and also to operate. So this was briefly it. Despite, I would say, I'll just stop sharing my screen now because we're done with the presentation. I'll just summarize.
Mr. Bhaguna, and if if you have still more things to show us, or maybe give us more brief about your story, you have another 1 minute, although we have extended the time for you. Yeah.
I am
so
done. I'll just take 30 more seconds.
Okay,
So
okay, all right.
basically, what we have seen as a challenge is that despite the perceived benefits of the DSR technology, there is a lot of effort which goes in convincing farmers. This is a new method requiring new kind of technology, and we have in the last 3 years through the demonstration farms that I've mentioned been extremely effective in convincing farmers to use this. and then next season onwards, farmers see benefit. It's an immediate impact they see, and beyond that is a cycle which propels itself. Our intervention for 1 or 2 seasons are good enough to show farmers the impact, and then more and more adoption of DSR in the local area happens automatically.
All
This
right.
is broadly from me. If there's anything, any questions, etc., I would be more than happy to answer later.
So,
Thanks again.
thank you so much, Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna. We have compliments and congratulations coming to you for Roots Foundation, and we had Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna. Now we will be welcoming Mr. Anish Jain. The project name is Krishi Unnati and Gram Unnati, and that is nominated by Jindal Stainless. Mr. Anish Jain is the founder of Gram Unnati. Anish ji is a former management consultant and an IIT graduate. And he is also, he advises some multilateral agencies on agriculture related issues. We welcome Mr. Anish Jain on board. So just get ready to hear more stories from his side. Mr. Anish Jain. I hope he's live here. Mr. Manoj, can we see Mr. Anish Jain here?
Yeah, he's there. He's just coming.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Shweta. Can
Welcome,
you
sir.
allow the screen sharing, please?
Sorry, I did not get you, sir. Please come again.
Can you allow the screen sharing?
Manoj, can you get this?
I didn't get you. Your voice is cracking, Anish ji.
Yeah, your voice is cracked.
I need to share my screen.
Okay, Prajul, can we allow his screen sharing?
Okay, all right. Meanwhile, Manoj, you can just read the comments coming from the audiences if there are any, so that the storytellers and the jury members, they get to know what people are getting out of this discussion, if there are any.
Yeah, there are fantastic comments coming from Mr. Arvind Avasthi. He has appreciated Roots Foundation's work
Yes.
and so much of appreciations.
So congratulations, Mr. Rishi Patania, Mr. Prashant Chauhan, Mr. Ritvik Bahuguna. This is going fantastic, and now we're waiting for Mr. Anish Jain to just start up with his storytelling. Guys, actually we are time constraint and we have allotted 10 minutes to each of the storytellers, so we have to follow the pattern, and so that we get to know more about your foundations, agencies, your sectors on which we are working, and the people, those who are connected here, they get more information about your work. So it's going great, and me not from this background, but still I'm enjoying, because when the word storytelling comes, it is like something which is related to our kind of people, those who are artists, and yes, we are also storytellers, we are filmmakers, like, so in any way we are connected, and हमें भी कुछ सुनते सुनते शायद आप लोगों से कुछ ऐसी स्टोरी सुनने को मिल जाए जो
Anish,
आपने नहीं सुना है. So we have
sorry
Mr.
to
Anish
interrupt you,
Jain.
Shweta. Anish,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can share the screen. You have access now. Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have Mr. Anish Jain with us now.
I hope the screen is visible.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is
it's
visible.
visible. It's visible.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening to all of you, and thank you, Manoj and Shweta, for organizing the event. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm grateful to Stainless for having nominated us. They've been very kind supporters of our work for the last 4 years now, and together we've been working across multiple states, and we're going to be talking about Haryana and Orissa over here. I'll first introduce Gram Unnati, and then we'll start talking about the project itself. So Gram Unnati is a single-stop solution which is offered to farmers wherever we operate. So we take care of multiple services which the farmer wants. Primarily, we ensure that whatever happens is is always market focused. So it should not be subsidized. You should always be kind of looking at things which are going to be sustainable financially over the course of the project as well as later. And you kind of bring in stakeholders who have some kind of a vested interest in ensuring that this work, as in this, the kind of work which is happening continues to operate and brings in good value to the farmer over time. So there are 5 services which we mostly offer to farmers. The first one being markets. We work with around 20 large agro processors, and we set up supply chains for them. Second is access to inputs. So we work with 4 or 5 fairly large agro input companies, some of which have already also presented during this discussion. The third is we work with research institutions and other agri experts to develop package of practices and provide trainings to farmers. Fourth is we work with financial institutions to set up bank accounts, to set up credit lines for farmers. And finally, we work with warehousing institutions and other logistics services providers to ensure that whatever system is being created has the kind of relevant support in the backend to make sure that things can happen. There are 2 key pillars for us. So a lot of our work depends on partnerships. So we work very closely with the private sector. We work very closely with the government in most places. The CSR and other multilateral agencies come on board and kind of support the work which is happening. The other element is technology. I'm personally someone who studied technology, and while we are not a tech organization, but we do understand the significance of technology in bringing the different stakeholders together and ensuring that whatever work is being envisioned can be delivered in the most efficient way. So we do use a bunch of technology over there. And when you look at it from the farmer's end, there are 4 critical services. So you kind of help the farmer make the right choice in terms of what crops to grow, how to grow those crops. Second is the right means in terms of, do you need financing, do you need other support systems, what kind of input should go in over there. Support all of it with the right kind of crop and crop advisory, and make sure that there are markets available whenever the crop is ready for farmers. So all of it is tightly integrated. All of it is looking at the farmer, but is formally looking at creating institutional linkages, which will ensure that these farmers derive the most benefit. While we are keeping the farmer in the middle of it, there is a vested interest for other agencies to operate, as in to work with us. So if you look at an institutional buyer, the reason why they would want to buy through a system like this is they get access to more traceable produce, which has been grown in the best possible ways. They also get they generally get better quality produce. And because there is a supply and there is an efficiency which has been brought into the supply chain, there are some cost savings which kind of further lead to a monetary benefit for these agencies. In terms of our input partners, they get access to farmers who would now want to buy their products, preferably because there is a better, because they know that the end output which is going to be produced has an assurance of a buyer. Similarly, for banks, they are now able to kind of get some kind of transparency in terms of how these farmers are behaving, what is their financial standing like, and then customize credit lines or customize financial products for these farmers to support these farmers with the assurance of recoveries coming in. That's broadly what Gram Unnati does. Krishi Unnati is a project which we work with, which has been supported by JSL. This works in 2 states, Odisha and Haryana. The Odisha project has been functioning for over 3 years now. The Haryana one has been there for around a couple of years now. Combined in these 2 states, we reach out to over 50,000 farmers. And the entire system gets replicated. So every one of these 50,000 farmers has access to all the services. We are crop agnostic. We work across all the crops which these farmers grow, because every crop requires a similar set of services. And because of a large portfolio of partner buyers, we are able to kind of cater to most of the farmers' products which have been grown. In Odisha, we currently work in 4 districts with the plan of expanding to 5 other districts. These 9 districts combined, over the next 3 years, we plan to reach out to almost 300,000 farmers in these 9 districts. We are not alone, so it's not just JSL and Gram Unnati which is working over here. We're also working very closely with the Odisha government, and together we've also got a set MOU in place and very clear deliverables where all three of us are working together to ensure that these number of farmers can actually come into the system. These farmers can not only benefit from the private sector relationships we are able to bring in, but also benefit from the different government schemes and programs which are there in place. In Haryana, we are currently working in 3 districts with the plan of expanding to 4 others. Again, the model is very similar. You've got the government, which is working closely with us. Again, a formal arrangement with the government where they are helping bring in more farmers into the system. While we bring in the private sector partnerships, and JSL and us, we together build a platform which can ensure that each one of these farmers has access to the different services, be it from the private sector or the government which come in. We're also working closely with other institutions like NABARD in the state of Haryana. Currently we reach, I think, 5,000 farmers with the aspiration of reaching out 25,000 farmers over the next couple of years. This is the set of services which we offer pre-harvest, as in at the growing stage. So we kind of provide them technical trainings. We ensure that they have all the right kind of technical support which is required, be it soil testing, water testing. It could also lead to realignment of their cropping patterns. We ensure that they have access to the right kind of inputs. We ensure that they get regular monitoring support to ensure that the crop is growing at the right pace. This is the other part of the story, right? So that our work doesn't end on the growth stage. We also ensure that these farmers have access to markets. And we set up physical collection centers to ensure that these farmers can bring in their produce. We take care of the quality assessing. If there is any kind of cleaning or sorting, we've got facilities to make sure that that can be done. And finally, which is really important in today's age, or today's as we stand today, we kind of make sure that the different safety and hygiene parameters are being taken care of to ensure that farmers' produce moves to our buyers in the most efficient as well as in the safest way possible. This is a short story about what we did during lockdown. In the 2 states where we are operating with JSL, as well as the other states where we operate, we work in 4 other states. We made sure that despite the lockdown, the farmers who've been working with us, they did not have to lose out, because a lot of the lockdown actually happened when the peak Rabi harvest was happening, and a lot of these farmers did not have access to markets at that point of time. So we made sure that each one of these farmers who's worked with us has access to markets. They could kind of bring in their produce to our collection centers. From there, we were able to move it to relevant agencies. So in Delhi NCR, or around Delhi NCR, where we do a lot of work with vegetable farmers, we were able to move their produce either to the community kitchens, which were being operated by the government as well as other agencies. And we were able to kind of move a part of it to direct housing societies. And we were able to use technology in a lot of this. We were able to kind of ensure that on the consumer side, the consumers had access to good quality produce at a fair price, while the farmers had access to markets, which would have otherwise been a problem because all the traditional supply chains had been disrupted during COVID-19 lockdown. A similar thing was happening in Rajasthan and UP and Uttarakhand, where the commodities might be different, but the issues were very similar. Farmers really were desperate to sell off their produce, and we were able to continue our operations during the lockdown. We had the relevant support from different agencies, and I should mention over here that the government's been extremely proactive in ensuring that, at least on the agri supply chain sides, things were moving very smoothly. On the other side, there were also farmers who were getting ready to sow their crop, and we made sure that with our input partners, we were able to ensure timely access to inputs. In some states, we were given special permission to actually do door delivery of inputs because they did not want farmers to come in and start aggregating at the input shops. So we've been working very closely in these tough times with our stakeholders, farmers, as well as the private sector, with the support of the government in all the states which have been operating. This is pretty much our story.
This is a fantastic story, Anish, and I'm sure our audiences and our people, everybody who's listening to your story must have enjoyed. Quite impactful journey, and all the best for your good work. And now we have next story. It is nominated by MetLife. The organization name is Shios, and we would like to welcome the organization for the storytelling. And this will be presented by Mr. Saurabh Bhagat. Saurabh Bhagat happens to be experienced development professional with a demonstrated history of working in the non-profit organization management industry, graduated from Cardiff University. He is heading the NGO's Pan India management. He has helped project undertaken with the Embassy of Japan, South Asian Pharmaceutical Council, USA, MetLife, GOSC, SBI Foundation, SBI Card, HFCL, HCL Foundation, Inox Group, L&T, Amazon, and etc. Saurabh, I would like to welcome you to the show and giving the dice to you to talk about your journey of impact.
Hi, everyone. I really want to thank Manoj and Team Social Story for providing this platform for us to speak. And thank you for that introduction. I hope everyone is doing good during this pandemic. I would like to start from what we do first. So SHIOS has been working for the welfare of the elderly people from past 17 years. And we have been one of the few organizations in the country who started this support work for the destitute and the abandoned elderly who are abandoned on the roadsides by their own family members. Now, this problem is not a mainstream problem of a country, since it is not very spoken about, or it's not being highlighted in the media as much it should be. And also, there are various things which has not brought up this problem to a national level. That is one of the biggest challenges what we have been facing and the elderlies have been facing. And that came up the most during this pandemic, because COVID-19 was such a thing that impacted the elderlies the most. Now, so what we do? So basically we have a working model in which we rescue the elderlies who are in Delhi and NCR, who are on the streets, who do not have a shelter or any home, who are completely helpless and very ill and disabled. So we pick them up, we get them to our centers. We have two centers, one is in Delhi and another one is in Garmukteshwar. So in the Delhi center, we have a 10-bedded ICU unit where we provide shelter to all these elderlies. And from the past 17 years, we have been doing this. And we have sheltered close to more than 5,000 people have lived with us till now. And the best part is that we have been able to rehabilitate around 2,000 or more than that people. And so presently the strength is around 300 people who are staying with us at a center. And out of those 300 people, you would imagine that almost 80% people are bedridden. These people are disabled people who cannot even move for their own daily routines or toilets. So imagine the kind of service and the kind of dedication the team has to do every single day to keep these elderly in the perfect condition. And what is happening in the past is that the abandonment rate is increasing constantly because of various socioeconomic factors which is going around in the country. Also, we've been seeing that lately the problem of Alzheimer's and dementia is one of the greatest problem which is impacting the abandonment of the elderly. Many at times the elderly do not themselves remember their homes. So we have around 50% of the people who do not know their way back to their homes. They don't know their names. Their families are looking for them. So we provide a platform where we reunite these people with their family members. So that is how SHIOS has been able to rehabilitate many of the elderlies back with their loved ones. Today, speaking specifically, we'll be talking about the project with MetLife. MetLife has been an exponential support to SHIOS, and we have been able to do a lot for the elderly with their support. So the support is for palliative care, that is the care of those elderly who are in our ICUs, and providing the support to the elderly who are in the wards. So all these elderly are supported under the project MetLife. So I'll share the journey from the beginning, which consists of the kind of supports MetLife has done. So they've sponsored ICU beds for us. They have given us pathology lab equipment. So we have a very well equipped pathology lab inside our center, which does all the forms of blood testing, and which is very essential, if you need to diagnose the problem at the right time. we have the latest physiotherapy equipments through which we were able to improve the mobility of most of the elderly at a center. That is again supported by MetLife. Then we, at present, we also have a genset which was supported by MetLife, which helped us to provide constant electricity to our center. Now, apart from that, when we talk about the operational expenses, that has been a very important part. So what we have been focusing on is, because most of the elderly who are suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or various other mental issues, so we are taking their health, taking care of their mental as well as physical health. So for the mental aspect, MetLife has supported us for a neurologist, and for the physical aspect, they have supported us with a lab technician and caregivers. So all these things make it a composite project in which all aspects for the elderly are taken care of. We also have a larger center that's in Uttar Pradesh, Gadmukteshwar. It is one of the largest center of a country, which consists of around 1,000 beds and 20-bedded hospital, where presently 300 elderlies are staying with us. So that being said about the project, we are trying to do something different, and we are trying to address actually the most vulnerable people who have been impacted the most. And the problem which is that we as the younger generations have left that responsibility and have left them to fend for themselves. So we've never really come up at front to understand the problems. So I would just convey this message to everyone that you have to take care of this from starting from your own home, starting from your own parents, and then taking it ahead in the society. So if every individual starts taking care of very well care of their own parents, their neighbors, their relatives, I don't think so that any more old age homes would be required, and only the people who are suffering, those would be require some form of sheltering. Manoj, I will just be sharing my screen over. I have a small video to show, and that would conclude my time. Just let me try to do that. Is the audio okay?
I am Dr. G.P. Bhagat, founder of Guru Vishram Vridhashram Shiur. 15 years back, I started this home in 2003. We are providing shelter, food to the helpless, homeless, and sick old who are suffering from Alzheimer, dementia, paralyzed, fractured, and maggots.
Hi, I am Saurabh Bhagat, the director of SHIOS. The problem of elderly has been increasing since the day the old age home was founded. In Delhi, presently, we are having around 120 people whom we are trying to provide the best medical care.
We have highly experienced doctors, well-trained nurses, and caregivers who specialize in elderly care. They together work relentlessly to save the lives of elderly and reduce their pain and agony. We provide them love and care throughout their stay at our old age home.
The doctors are visiting basis. The nurses are very less. There are 120 people. So if we are having around 10 people who are serving 120 people, the number is still very less. We also have a physiotherapy unit and X-ray center. We have a pathology lab. All these services are there which are existing in Delhi. However, we lack the manpower through which and by the help of which we can run those services. It is an ever-growing expense which will not diminish but increase in the future. The constant increase in number of abandonment happening in Delhi and NCR is very annoying and it's very saddening.
We are having admissions every day by a rescue team which works round the clock in the city to pick the elderly from the roadside and bring them to our old age home.
Our only aim was to provide best services and best infrastructure to the people who cannot afford it, to the people who have been abandoned by their own family members. We want to give them a hope and a ray of light so that they are not saddened by their bad past. We have built another setup at Garden Mukteshwar, which is very close to nature. The reason of getting humans close to nature was the closer you stay in the lap of Mother Nature, the better she'll keep you. The old age home at Garden Mukteshwar has 2 huge buildings, but we do not have any medical care service at all at that place. Being in a rural area of India, the availability of doctors and nurses is a big challenge, and also the lack of funds is another big challenge which we are having at Garden Mukteshwar, because we are not able to provide a proper medical setup. For that, I would request you to come forward and provide us medical care.
Yeah, so thank you so much, team. And it's been a pleasure being with all of you. I hope you have a healthy time and a good time and a good life ahead. Thank you, Manoj, and thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Saurabh Bhagat. It was really wonderful representation of Shios, and it was really heart-touching, and we wish you all the luck. And so coming to the end of the storytelling session by the corporates, I welcome Madam Manisha Singh. And
well, I think Manisha ma'am is not joining today. On her behalf, we have Mayank. So let me introduce Mayank. Let me take the liberty to introduce Mayank.
Please. Good evening, Mr. Mayank. Good evening.
Yeah, so now next storytelling is from the Schneider Electric, and the project aim is rural electrification. Schneider Electric is one of the most purpose-driven organization which have been working in the area of electricity. And their project is rural electrification. And from Schneider, we have today Mayank Rajvanshi with us. Mayank is an alumni of Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. He has worked with some of the prominent organizations like Hindalco, Power Grid, and all. Mayank, welcoming today to the session and giving the dice to you to talk about your impact on the community.
Yeah, hi, thanks Manoj, thanks Shweta. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you. So taking quickly to the my speaking, like good evening to all, and good evening to jury members. And my name is, as Manoj said, Mayank, and I work for Schneider Electric India Foundation, which is a umbrella entity for all Schneider Electric business entities in India for CSR initiatives. Founded in 2008, Schneider Electric India Foundation is providing a flagship program called Rural Electrification. And Schneider Electric is a global leader in digital energy management and automation. We empower all to make most of their energy and resources, ensuring life is on for everywhere, for everyone, and at every moment. We believe in access to energy, that the access to energy is the basic human right. And according to the different studies carried by prominent agencies across the globe, there are some 700 million people who do not have access to energy, globally speaking. And another 300 million people have erratic power supply, although they have access to energy, but the power supply is very erratic. So we help people to have safe and reliable energy for themselves through our renewable energy solutions. Under this rural electrification program, we provide energy for livelihood, and in which we set up renewable energy solar plants in far-flung off-grid rural areas where electricity is either absent or is irregular. So one of the similar interventions we had in villages of Nabrangpur district, which is in Odisha, with the objective of to provide reliable and affordable energy for agriculture and domestic uses. Although Nabrangpur is having enough river resources for agriculture, but still they depend most of the time on rains because of the terrain and non-availability of power for farmland, non-affordability of diesel and kerosene for water pumps. Schneider Electric India Foundation intervened by providing access to energy to agriculture in the year 2019. These solar PV based energy plants were installed for powering water pumps, providing power to sugarcane crushers, rice hullers, wheat crushers, with an objective to have positive impact on the lives, on the livelihood, increase yield, more crop cycle, and at affordable price with a minimal CO2 emission. In this project, we provided 7 solar water pumps benefiting 121 families in 6 villages, and we were able to provide power and water to 80 acres of vegetable cultivation with these solar water pumps. Our interventions are for certain time period. We had to make them self-sustainable over the time. When we go out, they should be sustainable. They should not die out. So in every intervention, we, along with our ground partners like Harsha Trust, we engage farmer produce companies and we form a village level water committee, which is led by women in the village. And the role of this committee is to identify the farmland, engage and involve farmers, and train women and young entrepreneurs so that they can benefit the project. The committee will operate and own the assets which will be developed in this intervention, like solar plant, water system, irrigation system, purifier. Everything will be owned by the committee. They will identify an operator which will be trained by Schneider Electric India Foundation for operation and maintenance of the assets like solar plant. And the income generated by solar plant, when energy is given to water pumps, basis uses of water and land side, the farmer will pay for minimal usage charge, and that is deposited in a separate bank account which is operated by the committee member. They used to make corpus and pay salary to the operator, and this corpus is used for maintenance expenses of the assets. As outcome of these interventions, social return on investment studies, SROI studies, indicate an increase in farmers' income and agricultural yield. There is an increase in women empowerment. That we were able to reduce carbon footprint with an increased food security and lesser seasonal migration. Also, as impact of this, the studies say that there is an improved well-being and quality of life. There is increased saving and investments by these villagers, and there is improved education among children. So we are open to partner with like-minded corporate foundations and not-for-profit for such interventions in any geography across country. We have provided interventions to 45,000 families across 900 villages in the geography, and we think we would be happy to have more partners and more geographies. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you. Manoj?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayank. Mayank, it was amazing listening to you. I think this is the we hope that everybody enjoyed the show. I would like to thank you everyone. Dr. K.K. Upadhyay joined us today. Neeraj Lal sir from Arvind Limited joined us today. I would like to now have few comments from Seema ma'am. If Seema ma'am is live. Ma'am, can you hear me? I think she's on mute.
Yeah.
Ma'am, welcome to the program. Request your some insights and observations and
Yeah,
some
of course, it was
opinions.
wonderful listening to these initiatives, and I must appreciate these people for their contributions. Particularly, I was very much touched by the SHIO's initiative because mostly people don't think about it. And I believe that elder generation is, of course, the foundation of what we are today. So they must be respected, they must be properly taken care of. One thing which I always wonder that, in India, if you look at the initiatives, whether they are for farmers, whether they are for other needy sections, there are initiatives by the government, by the corporate, NGOs are working. But somewhere I feel that there are gaps. And wherever the efforts are going on, they are going on in bits and pieces. I would request people like you, if you could really think about it and, do something where we are able to create some kind of visioning for the effectiveness or implementation of such initiatives in the country. Otherwise, if you, I'm sure you are into this domain for long now, and you see that there are improvements, there are some success stories, but that's not the target. The target is that we must give a better world to everyone in the country, whether that person is a farmer or an elderly person. So I think it's just a food for thought, not just for you, for everyone, that we should think about it seriously. And I'm also thinking about it. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, ma'am, you're audible. That's very true, ma'am. Thanks for your inputs, ma'am. And going forward, I think Indian corporations and everybody in the society and community going to improve. And there is a lot more improvement has happened. India as a country is going forward in its developmental landscape. And so thank you very much for ma'am joining today. We also have Prashant sir with us. Prashant sir, if we can also have some of your inputs, because Mani Padma Datta sir and Yashvir sir had to drop because they had some more meetings also. Prashant sir, can you hear us?
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manoj and team Social Story, for giving me this opportunity to listen wonderful social initiatives. And definitely, I'm very much impressed and satisfied that when we say that in under corporate responsibility, many corporates are doing tokenism and they are not exactly doing the work which is as expected. But I think through this platform, it is very good opportunity for them to showcase their work and to change the mindset of the people, number one. As far as concerned with this, the stories which were presented today, I think uh, very selected and very innovative somehow some people were doing. Like for example, if I see the work of Gram Unnati, so in terms of rural development and helping the farmers, I think this is one of the very need of the hour. If you see the overall the situation of farmers and agriculture, so I think this is one area which needs to be addressed. And I think in that way, the kind of work which they are doing. So I think this is very appreciating. And on the other hand, presentation by Roots Foundation and Chandler Electric for the rural electrification, and obviously the SHIOs. I think all are somehow, but I think this is my general observation I'm giving, that those who are, maybe we can give feedback to them if you are having a story. So I think it is good that if you have something to show through a short doc, or something, so that as an evidence also, it is easy to who are the viewers, they can understand what exactly the organization is doing, and many of them has shown. So it is very appreciating, and I think through this, what is the best part what I am looking, though many events similar are happening everywhere, but I think in this way, definitely those who are right now in this meeting, and as well as those who are watching live on different social media platforms. So and all the students of social work, those who have joined today, I think they can have better understanding on the innovative practices which many corporates are doing through non-governmental organizations. And Dr. K.K. Upadhyay ji is visible now, so I can understand that. Thank you, sir. So it's very nice that the kind of work which team Social Story is doing under the leadership of Manoj, that you are just encouraging many people to come forward, show their work, and especially in this current situation of pandemic where a lot of negativity is there. So I think these kind of events will definitely give positivity, and they will give motivation to others, those who are in this sector. And because everywhere, the development sector is being affected by many ways because of funding issues, especially the CSR, reading some paper that PM Care Fund, the very variety of issues are there. But I think in this way, this is a very, very, important and good initiative. And definitely, I'm looking further that this will go forward, and definitely the outcome also will come in a better way. And
Right.
Leaders of social change will definitely be the real leaders, those who will change the society.
Thank you very much, sir, for the kind words. I would like to thank you for joining us today, and all the jury members, all the audiences. Thank you very much, Seema ma'am, for joining and supporting always. And I think, post this event, we will reach out to the jury members and take their feedbacks, and moving ahead with the evaluation and assessment process. And we will always remain credible in the process. Today was a storytelling event, and post that we will also be doing the evaluation through the metrics and questionnaires. And we as an organization always remain credible and the transparent in the evaluation and assessment process. And thank you very much for joining. And we have some of the most credible organizations associated with us, whether it is Seema ma'am, we have a Yashvi sir from Ashoka and Terry University. All the credible organizations are there, and we can always promise to all the organizations who has participated that all the assessment and evaluation will be done with all the high credibility. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for joining today.